He is an alumni of University of Massachusetts in Amherst, very well known to be having a progressive economics department, and hopefully he will help us think through the issue in more detail. Okay.
Thanks, Ford, and my thanks to the Renaissance Front for this opportunity, and thank you for being here. You designated 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. for this event. This is longer than my afternoon. Most of the interesting stuff usually happens in the conversation, Q&A, and the tea later. So I want to go through this, as quickly as possible, but of course, just a steady pace, because I think there's quite a bit to absorb about this issue. The theme was challenges and solutions. I will have 3 parts here to the presentation. Challenging, firstly about how we think about inequality, and then how inequality, the state of inequality, how we gauge inequality, and then some proposals for solutions to the problems of inequality in Malaysia. So inequality, I would assume, where you might stand on how you feel about inequality as a problem. I think it's very helpful, however we feel whether we think it's not really a problem or we do, or a severe problem or not, that we are aware of some of the basis for holding these views. And it is not necessarily the case that inequality should be a problem, and maybe some of you or you have friends who think that, hey, it's not really a problem. Okay? As in, not really something that we really need to worry about, the government needs to step in to solve. But there are particular bases to this. And so here are some key ones in my view. First, inequality is a reflection of individuals' choices, right? Whether you invest in skills and capital, or the choice to work hard or be lazy, the choice to seize opportunities. I love this quote. The man himself, Sarawak Chief Minister, about 2 years ago, the poor do not take advantage of opportunities. In other events, he's also talked about how his children have taken advantage of opportunities. They are rich due purely to their merit. So this is a bit of an extreme example, right? But it is in line with that view, that if you're poor, it's because of your choice. If you're rich, it's also because of your choice and abilities. Another view is that government should care about poverty and growth, not inequality and distribution. Okay, moreover, of course, nobody is so heartless to say that the poor should not be helped. So that is legitimate. But inequality is not to be touched. It's to attempt to be interlinked. And I'm not this. I'm just presenting it here as for consideration. Efforts to redistribute jeopardize growth. And in the process, I'm also acknowledging that there is a coherence, at least even if we may disagree with it, right? To these perspectives. If you pursue a more equitable distribution, it comes at the expense of efficiency. So the efficiency and equity trade-off, right? A big issue, and there are no easy answers to that, and it's not something that can be easily dismissed. A third perspective is the wealth have earned their riches. So it's tied in with the second, right? So taking away from the wealthy is bad for business, is bad for the economy, okay? And cheap labor boosts investment, those sort of views. Inequality is a problem. If you feel that way, and I think there are various perspectives to that as well, and it helps to be mindful of that. The first, I think, is from the social justice perspective. Inequality is a question of social justice. So people are denied fair opportunity. Poor is, not reduced to you not seizing your opportunities, but you didn't get the opportunity. Okay. In terms of access to equal education, there's inequality there, social services, land, capital, and so on. So and therefore the relative gap in opportunity and outcome are important. In addition to poverty, so it doesn't mean that just because we're concerned with poverty, we have to ignore inequality. We look at both. And And another angle to that is some groups, whether race, ethnicity, gender, disability, sexual orientation, are excluded, disadvantaged, or discriminated against. Second perspective, inequality is perpetuated by exploitation by underdeveloped institutions. Here, meaning things like very low unionization rates, so not being represented in the workplace collectively. There is, market power, okay, and political powers, echoing what Mary said about the rich having access to political power. But this one is, the previous view where inequality is not a problem is a very sterilized view of markets, as though they just, some kind of ethereal force, and it's innocuous and doesn't really have, any kind of, there's basically no power structure in that. To say that inequality is a problem, I think, implicitly, explicitly is saying that no, there is exercise of power in markets, and therefore, one of the outcomes is inequality, and so we cannot depend on the market to solve those kind of problems. It's not about individual choice. There are monopolies, okay, marginalization of the poor. Tied to this is a view that equity and efficiency are mutually compatible, so you can pursue fairer distribution without compromising on the performance of the economy. Right? To say a little bit more, less from some basis for holding the view that inequality is a problem. Less inequality, a higher share of wages. So it's not just in terms of focusing on that as the problems of inequality as we can as they are manifest and as they have happened, but also the foregone potential. Okay, that means the alternative is better. So if you add less inequality, there are benefits, including the higher share of wages in national income, so higher demand because wage income is spent more in the economy, in consumption, than profits and investment, right? Or I should say profits. Another thing, inequality breeds social instability and social pathology, so corruption, crime, breakdown of families, communities, and so on. So I think we're familiar with these arguments, but I just wanted to lay them out there. There is intense interest in inequality around the world today. Just want to highlight a few things and some of the examples of current writings on it. Some of the key developments here, the rising inequality in the US, in China as well. The Arab Spring drew a lot of attention, right, to the desperate poverty and just the obscene inequality there. Stable, but it's not all about that. It's not all about increasing inequality, that kind of scenario everywhere. There's been stable and low inequality in Northeast Asian countries, Korea and Taiwan. So there's, I think, if we're thinking about where to look and what sort of lessons to look around the world, it's not a uniform picture. Okay? And there are some countries that have actually experienced declining inequality in the last decade. Here I'm talking about the Latin American countries. Okay? So the interest in inequality is not just about high inequality and its problems, but the diversity of experiences. I have drawn a bit on this Trade and Development Report 2012, which you can get. All of these actually you can get somehow. You search and you will find them. Joseph Stiglitz wrote in Vanity Fair, The Price of Inequality, The Economist, bastion of European liberalism, for richer, for poorer, and there was this New York Times article and lots more. So it's a hot topic. One thing that has been observed in the US, especially okay? And in various countries is that the salient pattern of feature of inequality in recent times is the concentration at the very, very top. Okay, so we're not talking even about top 20%, not even top 10%, not even top 5%, top 1%. So you must be familiar, right, movements about the bottom 99 and the top 1. There is real evidence behind that concentration of wealth, the top 1%. So yeah, finance, resource-based wealth, and it has these kinds of further effects. So it's not just about owning of money and assets, but then buying the political influence and the kind of policies that can further perpetuate and accumulate your wealth. The problem with this is that it doesn't necessarily increase production or add to productive capacity. So an economy can become subject to the interests, to financial interests, which are for short-term gains, for short-term profits versus longer-term investments. Wealth inequality is greater than income inequality. That is the case everywhere. One thing, and including Malaysia. But I think that to emphasize in this regard is it has longer-term impacts, wealth inequality, and a lot of my interest is in the changes over time because there is a lot of talk about increasing inequality, which means we're talking about it having increased in recent times. So when we're holding a longer-term perspective, the focus, the importance of wealth inequality is even more important. And it has a lot of implications on security as well. So then coming to the second challenge, Asian inequality. So what is the state of inequality in Malaysia? There's all this talk of rising inequality, but what is the evidence? You may be in for a surprise here. According to official data, which is from the household income survey, and much of what Mary had conveyed just now was also computed from the household income survey. Household income inequality has been slightly declining in Malaysia. This should be a huge success story that everybody is trumpeting. Okay, just to be clear again, right? This is from the household income survey, which surveys somewhere around 60,000 households around the nation. So it is, better. It is covered more than what you and I have seen based on the questionnaire and asking how much income you earn. It asks a whole bunch of other questions. Okay, but it is, and they've been done consistently since 1984. We have data that goes further back, but I think for it's a consistent series. 1984 until 2009, the most recent. So based on that, calculating the some inequality indicators. One of them is the Gini coefficient. A higher value means higher inequality. Right? Now, I think I think our views seem to be, at least in academia, okay, seem to be frozen in the late 90s. You can see here from 1988 to 1997. Here to there was this increase, and there was a story, that we could tell to explain that increase in high growth and unequal opportunity and all that. Including myself, expected that it would just keep increasing. Okay? Now, our story was spoiled by all this data, which is showing that there's been this kind of decrease. So, yeah.
During that period when the Gini coefficient went up, I thought that was a good time.
It was
growing. And it does not, the logic is not there. I thought when the economy grows, a lot of people got money, then how come
it's the nature.
Yeah, well, it depends on who benefits more during that growth.
Perhaps that wealth.
So we have a Q&A session after this. Okay. Because I know there's a story that Hokman wants to tell that we don't want to kind of.
But I am not going to talk. Well, we can talk about that.
We'll return to your question.
Okay.
It's just a matter of flow. Yeah.
So it's this is so I was explaining it because going into some detail about the data because it's not so easily dismissible. I'm saying that because nobody talks about declining inequality. Nobody's even in their perception viewing the inequality as still the same. Everybody talks about inequality having increased. And when we say increase, it means that over time it has been going up. Okay? The data for household income, all right, is showing a slight decline, and it's not up and down all over the place. If you look, okay, it's quite a steady declining trend. All right, so I'll let you absorb that for 5 more seconds. But there are some things that can be said about that. It doesn't mean that this is not the only story about inequality, and I emphasize again it's household income. Okay. Now, but I feel it's important because this is the data that is the only one that is nationally that has a national sample, and if we are going to talk about Gini coefficient, especially, and actually refer to it, we cannot talk about it having increased. It has not been increasing in the last decade. So let's at least be true. Even if you question it, but if you're reporting what the government is saying, what the government has found from these statistics, okay, let's be true to the numbers, right? Inter-ethnic income inequalities have also declined. Urban-rural as well, if you look at the more recent figures. Okay, so just some other news. These were all made available. These are not really widely reported, but these are just taken from the Malaysia plans and the midterm reviews. So it is a somewhat puzzling picture, and I'm still in the process of researching this, so because our perception kind of defies what is being what the data have found. There are some things though that we should take note. Okay? Even while we are confronted with the government data, inequality in Malaysia remains high. Right? So just because it had that slight decline doesn't mean that the problem has gone away or that suddenly we have fixed it. Okay? And it's the highest in Southeast Asia. 0.44. We talk about countries like Scandinavia with Gini coefficient 0.3. I think in Korea, Taiwan is about 3.5. So 0.4 about is in the high territory. Now we should know that there's a specific measure involved, and there are limits to it. It was gross household income. Okay, so it does include wages as well as other sources of income, dividends and remittances. Now there can be multiple earnings in one household. So that may be having some effect. Now Bumiputera households have more earners on average. So we cannot say with absolute certainty that what we see in household income would translate into labor market inequality, for instance, wage inequality. We don't have that kind of data. But what we do know from the household income is that it includes household all income earners in the household. There's likely underreporting of property income. Right? The survey will just go and ask, how much did you, how much dividends did you get, and I think either people will be more prone to underreport those kind of things than how much wages did you earn. They're more likely to report that accurately. So in other words, this is not capturing the wealth, household wealth, very well, and it's not showing us anything about the concentration at the very top, where the trend is possibly has been, most significant. Okay, all we know is just a very general picture through the Gini coefficient. We can get the top 10%, but that isn't really showing any major change over time. We should look at other evidence of inequality, especially in earnings, and part of the reason for saying this is also that we need to look at other sources of data besides the government household income survey, and there are some that allow us to look at earnings. So here meaning salaries and self-employment income. And that is reflecting more what is happening in the labor market. And without getting all muddled or getting too spread out and diffused, because its household income involves too many other things. And then we should look at wealth as well. Okay? Now we don't know much, but we can gather some evidence through other sources like ETF accounts. This one is gathered from the annual reports. And what this one is showing here is the average annual growth of average EPF savings. So basically, if you look, so the top left, 15.3%, is between over 1991 and 1997. A 60 to 25-year-old, the average EPF account of someone in that age range grew by 15.3% per year. Okay? This is not accounting for inflation. But anyway, you can see some of these interesting trends happening here. That was a good time to be 16 to 25 years old. I was born a bit too late. If you look now, okay, 16 to 25-year-old or under 30s, okay, the growth in the average EPF accounts is much slower. And actually, you just go up the ladder, it's actually almost like as you go in the higher age categories. This is so it is just one thing that is showing is young workers is one category within society whose earnings are lagging, right? I mean, there's more that can be said about here. I think that's the most outstanding feature here. And to say that young workers always should be earning less or should experience that is confounded by what happened in the 90s, when actually if you're young, the rate of your earnings growth was higher than other categories. So something has really shifted in our economy. This data does not allow us to say much about gender and other aspects, but EPF does break down by age, so that allows us to say that. Looking at the household income, young workers also, other data sources also suggest that for the young workers' earnings is clearly one category that are experiencing lagging growth. Wealth ownership. So we can look at some sources, and this is probably what is on your minds when you're perceiving socioeconomic inequality. It is the more conspicuous ones, whether it's about seeing the prices or the appearance of bungalows and condos and so on, and the luxury cars that are on the road. We can look at property ownership and come up with this kind of figures here. So what's happening here in this table, okay, is imagine there's 100 houses that were sold over these two periods. Okay, so in 1998 to 2000. The cheapest 28 houses out of those 100 that were sold, their value was amounted to 6.5% of the total value of all houses sold. The two most expensive houses that were sold amounted to 14.5% of the total value of houses over 1998 to 2000.
Hold on, that's like somebody's cell phone ringing. Yeah, but can
Okay, fast forward to
You start again because I was distracted. And some of us were too. From the bottom part there, explaining the bottom.
oh,
graph.
okay. So yeah, this table. Imagine that there's 100 houses being sold over these 2 periods of time. Okay, so in 1988 to 2000, the cheapest 28 of those houses, okay, the value of those houses would be 6.5% of the total value of all houses. Okay. In 2010, the cheapest 28 houses amounted to 5.4% of all houses sold. Okay. So slight decline there, but where the change is more stark is the top 2%. So out of 100 houses, the 2 most expensive houses accounted for 14.5% of the total value in 98 to 2000, 22.2%. Okay, so this is indicating that kind of high concentration. It's consistent with the picture at top 1%, the top 2% concentration of wealth. So that is, this is a work in progress, so there's more to come, but for now. Another dimension, we don't really talk much about this, and this is partly drawing on the Trade and Development Report 2012, is analyzing the problem, this problem in terms of the share of wages and profits in the economy. There is a study that has found for Malaysia that there's decreasing wage share. Decreasing wage share in Malaysia over, but not the most up to date, between 1970 and 2006. Basically, this is an accounting exercise that divides all national income into wages and profits. We know from the past decades that productivity growth has exceeded wage growth. Okay? So necessarily the wage share has been declining. So another angle to the problem. So with all that, how do we think about it? Challenge, how we view or measure inequality. We have some 2 categories that evidence beyond the government's household income survey is showing that young workers' earnings growth is very slow, and property concentration of wealth at the top. How do we foster equity and efficiency? To include 2 more slides, some solutions to consider to increase the wage share. And this is one which yielding other sorts of benefits, like the wages getting recirculated into the economy. Keeping wage growth in line with productivity growth. So this is nothing to do with demanding high wages and then businesses shutting down. It's really about at the start at least, right, to have a fair distribution, to return to workers what they actually have contributed to productivity. Second thing to consider, to deepen labor market institutions. Sometimes called the higher road of higher wage and higher productivity, including things like increasing workers' bargaining power and their stake in the workplace to mutually enhance security and productivity. I think the view in officialdom is that if there's more security, then people get lazy and then they will come and become unproductive. An alternate view, and one that has been supported by a paper in the Cambridge Journal of Economics, it was a survey of Malaysian firms, extensive survey, and companies with unionized workers more likely to engage in technological upgrading, job creation, product innovation. Now this should come as no surprise at all, because if you are only hired, you have contract workers, if your workforce is very transient, and the basis of your making profits is your ability to extract more out of them and to hire and fire at will, then you're not going to engage in technological upgrading or job rotation or product innovation. So, I think it is a systemic change and change of mindset in every way, but that is, as it says here, the higher road where you're focusing on going higher wages and higher productivity. sustainable growth of labor contracting. I think this is it's a pervasive development. It's a problem. It's sort of largely under the radar, and occasionally it flares up, and with stories of abuse and so on. By some estimates, up to 40% of the Malaysian workforce, or the workforce in Malaysia, is considered informal, and a large section of that will be, contract. So, there's a lot of this dealing in labor, and aside from the rights and justice issues there, it's also affecting the capacity of the Malaysian economy. I have to mention, equitable access to quality education as something that is a solution, one of the solutions to address the problems of inequality, which is too big to get into any further discussion. And I think the taxation and public spending demands some serious questioning and posing of alternatives, make it more progressive, efficient, and curbing speculation. Capital gains tax, for instance, clear thing that should be given more consideration, is not there. Targeted or conditional and productive social transfers also, is a big story in a lot of the discourses. Wasn't that in Brazil and so on? So not just giving out 500 ringgit and then 500 plus 500 ringgit, okay, and then and just to spend, but really more targeted towards money for schooling and things like that are more conditional and make that more productive and systemic. I think those will be the kinds of